Please tell me how you came to Ashland.
I came to Ashland when I was offered the presidency of Randolph-Macon College, which occurred in late October 2005, and I started in this role on February 1st, 2006.
Where did you come from?
I came from Baltimore, where I work for Johns Hopkins University.
Did you see any major changes when you came from there to this college?
Major changes, major differences?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sure. A very, very major differences between Johns Hopkins and Randolph-Macon and Baltimore and Ashland, simply in the scale of the two institutions and the two places. Johns Hopkins is a research university focused on research and graduate study. It has about 20,000 students. Obviously very famous and impressive medical center. And Baltimore is a major city, and so consequently I did notice differences in terms of the kind of institution and the scale of the city and town here.
Who are some of the most interesting people you've met?
Interesting people I've met in Ashland?
Correct.
You mean Ashlanders that I've met? Well, clearly I've met a lot of people in the time that I've been here. One of the great things about Ashland is that it's such a welcoming community, and therefore apart from the college and those connected with the college, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people in the Ashland area, including, for example, all of the members of the town council, and including the mayor and the council members and the staff of the town manager and the town planner, who unfortunately left, and others, business people in town. I've met a great number of people who have businesses here. Superintendent of schools for Hanover County, of course, is an interesting person. I've met members of the school board. I've met the members of the County Board of Supervisors as well. I've met a lot of people, police chief, sheriff. So I guess those would be the kinds of people I've met.
Have any interesting events occurred in Ashland? Any fond memories of any events here?
Well, again, I've been here a relatively short time, 2.5 years, next month, so it's I haven't been here for many of the historic moments, but as I think about it, the variety show occurred last year. I had heard a great deal about the variety show and enjoyed attending that. I very much have enjoyed the strawberry festivals that have taken place here since I've been here, which occur here on our campus, as you know. We have started in this celebratory year, the 150th year, having a few celebrations or activities around the celebrations, including one at the town hall that I attended So from that standpoint, those have really just started and will be more involved in the fall. We had the opportunity to participate in the planting of the first of the 150 trees, which took place in our backyard on Arbor Day in the spring, and that was fun. We also, my entire family participated in the holiday parade that occurs on the Sunday before Thanksgiving. In fact, I was the Grand Marshal the first fall I was here in 2006, so that was certainly a memorable day. I also took part, or I didn't take part, I attended the ceremony that marked the dedication of the plaza in front of the library, which I thought was a very nice ceremony. So those would be the kinds of things that I've done in the short time I've been here.
Have you had any contact with any organizations here?
Organizations, Ashland's organizations. Yeah, I've been involved in the business organization that's set up for promoting Ashland's businesses. I've attended the Kiwanis meetings here. What else? What was the question?
Organizations.
Organizations. And I've mentioned the governmental organizations and that I've attended. So I guess those would be the ones that come to mind.
What do you feel about Ashland being the center of the universe?
I think it's a great title that I use regularly as I go around Virginia and even outside Virginia and talk about the college and what's going on here. It always draws a warm response from the audience, which I think speaks to the warm feelings that people have that came here and went to school here.
Have you heard any interesting stories about the history of the college? Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
About the history of the college? Oh gosh, there's lots of stories around the founding of the college, and moving the college here. The interesting story about the first building that was built here, Wash Frank Hall, and how the students participated in that, including the man who later would discover Listerine, and Mr. Lambert. I think that's a great story. The time that the president came through here and stopped at the train station. I guess the college's development over the years, the buildings that have been built here, and how Ashlanders have participated in activities here, whether it be sports activities or one of the fun things that we've been able to participate in is having the Richmond Symphony on our campus while they're without a permanent home right now, and that's been a great way to kind of showcase the college and have people from all around this area come to those concerts. What else? I can't think of any other historic issues, but I know there are lots of them.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the relationship between the town and the college?
Well, I think that there exists today a very good relationship between the town and the college. We've tried in the time that I've been here, and I know before I was here, to reach out and have meetings with the members of the town council and with the staff, and to be in good communication about things that are occurring at the college. In particular, we were very proactive about soliciting the support and involvement of the town in our master plan,
Mm-hmm.
the plan that we look at the long-term development of our campus. And in fact, I mentioned the town planner earlier. He was a member of the steering committee of the master plan group here on campus. So from that standpoint, I think we've had a good relationship with good communication about what's occurring on campus and what's happening in the neighborhoods around
Mm-hmm.
the campus as well.
Tell me some more about the master plan. What is your vision for the college?
Well, the master plan is just really a part of that. The master plan looks at the physical development of the
Mm-hmm.
campus, the buildings, what new buildings might be built, what buildings might be renovated, what buildings might be torn down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a sort of 15 to 20 year plan. And we're looking at the potential of building a new building adjacent to the Copley Science Center that would include new laboratories
Mm-hmm.
and faculty offices. That's one of the new facilities that the master plan consultants have recommended, that a new facility that is more likely to happen sooner rather than later. We've also looked at upgrading our athletic facilities,
Mm-hmm.
our football field and baseball field and tennis courts, moving the tennis courts and moving the baseball field to where the tennis courts are, and shifting the football field to make it run north and south along Henry Street, and adding some residence halls.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately we'll renovate Mary Branch. That's an issue for us to make sure that that's well done, like Thomas Branch has been done. We're looking longer term at the development and renovation of the student center and the dining facility. Another area we're interested in is a possible front door for the college,
Mm-hmm.
either along Henry Street or perhaps down by the train tracks. So that's what the physical vision looks like. I envision the college growing a little bit in the next few years. We're in the middle of a master plan right now, looking at issues about the size of the college and what we'd like for the college to be going forward. So my vision is that we continue to be a residential liberal arts college that does well what we do, in particular connecting students and faculty, but perhaps slightly larger,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly a little more financially secure than we are today.
What do you think are the most important aspects of the college and its role in the community?
Well, I think the college has many roles in the community. Obviously, first and foremost is its role in providing a high-quality education for our students, some of whom come from the community, many of whom are engaged in the community in some way, either through volunteer work or internships or summer research programs or other kinds of things that connect our students directly to the community. So it's important that we continue to attract highly motivated and successful students that will contribute in that regard. Likewise, our faculty and staff are contributors to the community. They're consumers of the community and what it has to offer, but they're also contributors. They serve on committees, including the town council. They're involved in all kinds of activities in the community, and so from that vantage point, the college's role and connection and contribution is very important. I think we're a source of interest. I met with a gentleman last week who happened to be on a search committee for a new minister at his church, and he was telling me how each of the candidates who came to town wanted to see the college. The college was indeed an attraction to coming to Ashland. The fact that this is a college town was an attraction, and I've heard that over and over again. So the college being very much a part of the town, this being a college town, I think is an attraction for people to live here and to work here. The kind of value that a college gives to a town in that way, I think, is very high. And that's in obvious ways, like the kinds of activities that we have which are open to the community, whether they be arts activities or sporting activities that community members come and participate in, or the less direct, less tangible connections that people make with a college like this, living around it.
Are there any significant concerns that the town has brought to your attention?
Yeah, the town is, and if you're talking about the town meaning the town leaders, or if you're talking about residents of the town, they're always concerned about the development of the campus and what might take place at the edges of the campus, and how that might affect the neighborhoods around it. So that's a concern. One of the things we've talked a lot about in the process of this master plan, which I didn't mention earlier, which is very important to this conversation, is the road network around and through the campus. Because we're very concerned about how busy Henry Street is, and whether we can in any way divert traffic off of Henry that doesn't need to be there. That's a concern for us. We also obviously, with the railway cutting through the campus, share the town's concern about the location of a railway that cuts through a campus and through a town, and the traffic issues and the potential issues around the potential for a problem of a derailment or something like that. I mean, we're obviously very interested in working with the town to increase safety wherever we can. Town, through the offices of the sheriff and the police, have been concerned about behavioral issues on the campus, and in particular underage drinking, and how do we deal with that. And so we work closely with the town and the county in trying to deal with that problem.
So these are all measures to foster the good relationship?
Well, I think they're all what I would call opportunities to have interaction. That could be a good interaction, or it could be a less than good, less than favorable interaction if it's not done well, if there's not good communication, if there's not honesty and integrity in the way that the parties deal with one another. And as I said earlier, I'm hopeful that that's the case, that we've worked hard to develop good communications channels. When you speak with the mayor on Wednesday, I'm hopeful that she is saying the same kinds of things about what we've been talking about, how we've been interacting during this time period. I can't speak so much for the time before I was here, but at least since I've been here.
And what do you feel about your individual role as president?
Well, I think it's an important role in that regard, that number one, I have a responsibility to have those kinds of relationships and to cultivate those relationships and make sure that that communication is working personally in how I deal with those people. At the same time, I hope I'm setting an example and providing a sort of philosophical framework for those who work for the college to do the same, to be responsive, to be honest, to have integrity in the way that they deal with our neighbors, anyone associated with the town. And so I see my role in that regard as important as what I do personally.
What would you like to see in the future for the college?
And the town? Well, in the future, I hope that we continue to work together to develop good patterns of communication and good planning, as I mentioned about the town's involvement in our plans. And as we develop a strategic plan, we'll look forward to sharing that with the town. Likewise, as the town develops plans, long-term plans, I'm hopeful the college will play a role in the development of those. I also I look forward to, I mentioned the issue of this being a college town. I look forward to us further developing that concept, that image, if you will, so that as you drive in, not so much when you get off of I-95, because that's what it is. It's a big interchange for several blocks but once you cross US 1 and you get closer to the college, I'm hopeful that the feel of this area can be more like what would be better described as a college town kind of environment. So that's what I hope will happen in the future. I also, we're very pleased to be a part of this 150th anniversary. We're delighted it's happening on the campus, the major public pieces of it. Some of them are happening on the campus. We're very pleased about that, very pleased to be participating. I'm very pleased to be participating in it. I think it's a great testimony that so many people are pulling together and working hard on this to celebrate 150 years, that's an important milestone. But what we're celebrating is larger than that. We're celebrating the importance of a community and everything that it stands for. So it feels good to be a part of that. That this is a college here in Ashland. We're a nationally ranked college with a national reputation, but we're here in Ashland, and that's important to us, and it's important to who we are. And so all of this commotion that we're creating around the 150th, it's great that it's around that milestone, but it really is, as I say, it's much more than that. It's bigger than that.
Tell me more about your role as an honorary chairperson for the 150th.
Well, it's my role there has been, frankly, to stand up and be seen at certain events. The real work of the celebration is being done by the active volunteers, Rob Stiles and that whole army of volunteers that are doing the work. I think perhaps the most significant thing that I've done is to say to the college community that this is important, that we'll participate in it, that we'll host it, that we'll spend time. I've encouraged people to volunteer and to serve in voluntary roles. So that's probably the most important thing that I've done. We're really delighted to attach the college's name as we have in support of this activity, because, as I said earlier, it's more than a milestone. It's more than a birthday. It's really a celebration of a town in this great country celebrating what's good about living here.
Could you tell me more about some of the programs and organizations for the alumni, such as the old grads?
As part of what the college does? Well, we have, for our alumni, we do a number of activities, but in particular in the fall, we'll have a homecoming weekend to which we invite our alumni back, and we also do a number of reunions. Every fifth year class will have a reunion up through 45 years, which would be 1963 this fall. And then in the spring we have the 50-year class, and the classes earlier than that. So next spring it'll be the class of 59 and earlier that will come and celebrate their reunions. And these are pretty standard kinds of activities that alumni come back and meet as a class, and then there are large events. We happen to have a large dinner that we hold on Friday night. We have classes that we welcome alumni to come participate. Our faculty teach special classes, and we have other kinds of activities. Generally, 2 or 3 of the sport teams play during the weekend. Certainly always there's a football game, a home football game, but we also will have soccer games and other activities as well. So it's homecoming is a very busy time for us. We also go out into the state and outside of the state as well, and have activities for alumni and receptions and other kinds of activities to which we invite alumni to come and participate with the college.
Do you know any instances of any of them coming back to live in Ashland?
Yeah, there are alumni that have come back. We have a lot of alumni that live here that are not necessarily from here. I can't think of names right offhand, but I know that there are. I meet them and I hear about them.
So what do you feel about the athletic events at the college? and its effect on the town?
Well, I think athletics, college athletics at every level have a way of providing an interesting subject for alumni and members of the community. And while we're a Division III college, which has a lower emphasis on athletics in the sense that we do not provide scholarships and our programs are not funded at the same level. At the same time, our athletes work very hard and I think provide a very good product. And I don't use that word in the sort of crass sense of athletics as a what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, entertainment. It's although it is entertaining, I think the members of the community who come out to watch our students participate like the fact that they're real students. This is not their full-time reason for being in college, but rather they are students first, but yet they still have this passion for participating in a sport, and they are very competitive and provide interesting and entertaining contests. The ODAC, the league that Randolph-Macon, the conference that Randolph-Macon participates in, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, is a very competitive athletic conference, and we have lots of good rivalries with these other colleges. Of course, Hampton-Sydney being the most famous, but we have good rivalries with all of our conference schools. So the end result is that it provides an interesting and I think engaging way for people to take an interest in the college.
What was your first impression of Hampton-Sydney Week?
My first Hampton-Sydney Week was the fall of my first year here, and I was impressed with it. I was impressed with the numbers of activities that we had on the campus and the way the students responded to them.
What about events such as Dance Marathon and Making a Difference Day? What do you feel about them?
Well, I think those two in particular are important events for our students, but I like very much the way that our students are involved in extracurricular activities, and I think that's good for our students. First and foremost, I think those kinds of activities are what make a educational experience at a college like Randolph-Macon, a residential liberal arts college, so terribly beneficial. And so I'm encouraged. In just a few weeks, right after classes start, we'll have the activities fair out here, and as you may recall from attending that last year, it's amazing the numbers of activities that we have. I'm always so impressed with going by each and every table and seeing the numbers of activities and who's involved, and as I say, I think that's a very important part. We believe strongly in the fact that students learn both inside and outside the classrooms here, and they learn in those kinds of activities. Clearly, the ones you've mentioned are the largest of the activities, involve the most students, garner the most publicity for the college, which is a good thing. But that's not why we do those things. We do those things because they're a good thing to do. and they wind up doing good. And students who wind up participating in things that ultimately do good, I think help put themselves in a mindset that will benefit them and their communities wherever they land, whether it's Ashland or Richmond or Washington or New York or wherever they land in the years to follow.
How do you feel about current student involvement in the town?
I think that the students, as I said near the beginning, our students are involved in activities that relate to and benefit the town, whether whether they happen on the campus or whether they happen off the campus, whether they're community service kinds of activities or internships, and I feel good about that level of involvement. Do I wish it were more? Perhaps, only because you always wish for more good things to happen, and so from that standpoint, I would hope that over time we would cultivate even more opportunities for students to become engaged in the community. But I feel, to answer your question directly, I feel good about what they're doing, what you're doing now.
That concludes my questions. Is there anything you would like to add?
Well, just to say, I think this sounds like an interesting project, and I think it's an important subject because in many respects, the town and the college are sort of inextricably linked by virtue of our fixed location here. And one of the things we're not looking at is to develop satellite campuses and to move away from Ashland. We feel very much that our future is here. And so consequently, taking the time to talk to people about this relationship and to garner whatever you can about the strengths of it, the opportunities for it, the challenges that are there, I think are important because I think it is a vital relationship for both parties, the town and the college. So I salute you and wish you well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.